If you're looking for what to do with your finances in 2023, this is a great interview for you. I have an incredible advisor you can follow. Today, I'm interviewing Big D from Twitter. So stay tuned for this video. You're going to get a ton of value from it. Welcome to this video. I'm really excited to bring on my guest. I have Big D, who is blowing up on Twitter at Bucci Shivs. I'm really excited because I know this advisor. I've worked with him for years. He's got a great reputation in town. He's a top elite advisor, and he's taught me so much over the years. But today I get to interview the Twitter personality version of him, and he has some incredible things to share with us. Big D, thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
So glad to have you here. So let's dive in. I got some just basic questions I want to start with to give people an idea of your background, who you are, your philosophy, and then we're going to dive into some more pointed questions where you can give us some thoughts on what's happening. But how did you get started as a financial advisor?
It's a great question. But when you're young, you don't really know what to do with your life, add any value, I guess. And so I got to a point right after college where I was working for a bank and I could see the value that I created being in a retail banking position. But what I really wanted to do is have clients. So at a bank, and you're working in the retail department, you don't have clients, you have customers. And there's a huge difference. And what I realized was that I worked for a bank, and what I wanted to do is work for the people that I was seeing instead. One of the most successful men that I knew in my life was in this business, and I contacted him. I asked him to teach me. We agreed on that, and then the rest is kind of history. So that was 2003 is when I made that decision right after graduating from college.
That's incredible. And share with me, because I know a lot about your firm, and you're very well respected here in town. But I want to know from you, what would you classify as your firm's mission?
I have always, in some way, shape, or form, thought a mission statement was kind of dorky. But
Sure.
at the same time, I understand that it makes sense for people to understand what you're trying to accomplish. So what I was able to come up with on that question is basically what I like to do is teach people how money works. Wealth doesn't equal happiness, but it does give you access to freedom. And so the more people that I can teach about how money works and how to acquire it and how easy that is and how easy it is to grow it, the better security our community has, the better, the less people that are in need, those kinds of things. So really, if I had to look at an overarching mission, it was to do what the education system has failed to do, which is teach people about money. There is no classes about money. There's no degree in personal finance. There's none of that stuff that exists out there. And there's some classes, I guess, in college, but really for something that's 20% of the GDP of our nation, nobody is taught anything until they're, in the higher levels of university. And that's the reason we're in the situation we're in. And a lot of the problems that we have in our country is financial illiteracy. So I like to teach people how money works and then help them get to the freedom that it helps them achieve. And so that's a long way of saying it. It's not a real mission statement, but that's what I'm trying to accomplish.
Well, I can attest to that because we've had the privilege of working side by side, and I brought you in for clients that have investment needs and referred to you. And I can tell you, just by sitting with you, I've learned so much over the years. And I probably need to credit you with teaching me the most about investments and finance as a whole. I'm always amazed every time I sit with you that I learn something, and you definitely become a go-to person in my life for things that I have questions on. I remember one time, and I just want to throw this in there real quick. I asked you one time, there's all these questions that people are trained to ask financial advisors. And I said, well, what do you think is the best question you could ask a financial advisor that you're interviewing? And you said, what's their net worth?
Yeah, most financial advisors are broke and it's embarrassing. And they should stop being broke immediately. For sure.
Well, it makes sense. It's like, why would you take it? It's like all these entrepreneurial, motivational people you see online that are like, stop taking advice from people who haven't made it.
Yeah. So I'm all for education. If somebody wants to go and get a designation like a CFP or CFA, I think that's awesome. Yep. If they're still broke though, they suck. And you need to find somebody who doesn't suck at building net worth in order to learn how to build a net worth. That's the bottom line. So I don't care if they have no degree. If they are way more successful than you, then they're somebody you should listen to. And I don't think I'm more successful than everybody for sure. But when somebody sits down and they've done way more than me, I listen. And I do that, as much as possible, because that's how you learn. Some of the best ideas I've ever had were from people who barely graduated high school and are just way ahead of the curve with regards to building their own wealth.
That's wonderful. Let me ask you, who is it that you're serving with your firm and this mission?
Families and small business owners primarily. I don't work with big corporations or anything like that. Most of my clients are people I can have a relationship with. You can't really do a great job in the financial advisory business unless you know your client from a psychological perspective, as well as like the bare facts of where their money's at and all of that stuff. So I don't want to, consult for a pension and have to go and meet with like a board of directors that is new every year that doesn't really care. They're there for status or anything else. So for me, it's people and the small businesses. In Arizona is a small business state, so that's like the perfect place for that.
Let me ask you this question. What do you think is what's your outlook on the economy right now going forward for 2023? What do you see happening out there, and what do you do to help prepare your clients for that?
This is like the number one question that I get. To crystallize it, because I could talk forever, it's not fair. There's too many ways to look at this. But I think what you're going to see is a tale of two different kinds of people. If you have a lot of leverage and fat salary at a bloated corporation, I think you should be scared shitless. And I think you should be really, really, really scared, because I think you are the number one place that a corporation is going to cut. I think you're not worth it. And I don't say that personally. I say it. Yeah, I talked to one of my clients. He's a general manager of an auto, in Houston. He's a general manager of like a car dealership. He's got these sales guys with $1,400 to $1,800 a month, like car payments, and they're swapping cars out here and there, and they're all making good money and all this stuff. And I'm like, dude, as soon as the economy gets bad, you guys are the first cut. You're first. He looked at it and he was shocked. And he's like, I don't understand what you're saying. I'm like, dude, when interest rates get 6, 8, 9% for somebody to finance a $70,000 car, you think they're gonna? They're not. They're just not. I go, you're not going to have sales. It's going to totally suck. And you need to make sure that you get yourself in a position to where if you get your salary cut off tomorrow, that you're okay. So you need to ask yourself, what are your car payments? Well, his car payments were almost $3,000 a month for him and his wife. And I'm like, you're living like this free money era is going to last forever. And it's not. It will not last forever. And the pain will come for you. And you are going to get laid off if you don't make it. And if it does happen, you're going to be in a position where you can't afford your life. And you're going to be one of those people who fire sells to the people who have money that weren't done with their leverage. It was a very brutal conversation to have with him, but I think this year is a tale of two people. For those who bought into that lifestyle and bought into that level of living, they are not going to like it. The realtors who thought it was easy to make $600,000 a year because they think they're special, and they might be special, but most of them are not. Most of them are just a product of easy money, and they need to get their, proverbial, house in order. They're not going to just print 600,000 a year selling homes. It's just not going to be the case when people aren't buying homes. And so that's the type of person who's really going to be in trouble. For the people who are not in that situation, who maybe control their own destiny, own a small business, are not highly leveraged, I think this year and maybe the upcoming year after is going to be an excellent opportunity to snap up assets from over-leveraged people at really discounted prices. And so depending on how you position yourself, you could either be a victim of this coming economic time, or you could be somebody who benefits greatly from it and is there to buy assets that are highly on sale. So in terms of outlook, there's a ton of conversation we could have about different parts of it, but housing down, asset prices continuing to reset as interest rates go up, and potentially a lot of bankruptcies and defaults. There is anecdotal evidence that I'm hearing from bankruptcy attorneys. They're busier than they've been in 10 years.
Oh, I had not heard that.
Yeah, a massive amount of people did not get evicted during COVID. There are potential issues with, I think, mortgages that could have resets on, if somebody bought a 3-year ARM or a 5-year ARM. So it could not, come to fruition. Maybe this market is much more resilient. We hope so, but I think I would much rather be in the position of the person with very little leverage that controls their own destiny and has the ability to weather an upcoming recession better than somebody who's highly leveraged and, isn't that important at, Facebook. Let's just use that as an example, right? Why does Facebook have, 10,000 product managers? I don't get it. They have one product. You probably should take a look at that if you're one of those people.
That's a great insights. That's one thing I love about you is, I've been in meetings with you, and in person, I've asked you tough questions like that. And you're not a yes man. You never have sold anybody on why they should work with you and why everything's going to work out. You've always told the truth and been very upfront, and it's served me and clients that I've sent to you very, very well. So I love that you're brutally honest about stuff. Okay, I'm going to do something different here. I'm going to pretend that I'm 3 different types of investors, and I want you to just give me your opinion. So if I came to you and I said, hey, I want to invest for growth right now, what would you tell me?
This might be me knowing you psychologically a lot better, but if you just came to me off the street, I think that there are really good companies in the growth and technology space that exist, but you want to make sure you're investing in ones that make money, not speculative ones. You want to make sure you love the product, or that people that are the customers love the product. A really good example is Tesla, just to kind of throw that out there, or in things that are highly innovative. So Microsoft, for example, just invested $10 billion in an AI platform called ChatGPT, which is the fastest adopted technology in history, 100 million users in 3 months. Just to give you, scale, it took almost 3 years for 1 million people to get on Facebook. So 100 million people are already using this AI technology, and the AI wars have begun. So there are immense opportunities that exist if you're in for growth, but they're going to come with a really big risky, tag on the front that says this is risky, and you got to be prepared for that. So I think there's amazing investments out there in the tech space, but you got to be right.
All right. What if I said, hey, I'm coming to you and I want to put something that's going to generate income? What would you do for investing for income?
Yeah, especially if it's long income. I like fixed annuities right now, not because, most of my clients have their income taken care of. But right now, and I'm sure you can attest this more than me, you're much more of an expert on the annuity space because we use them more situationally at our firm. But I'm seeing 5-year, multi-year guaranteed annuities that have 5.5% income, 6% incomes. I think those are insanely attractive for people who want longer income, that kind of stuff. I do believe if you're willing to deploy the capital and take the risk, that a lot of commercial real estate is going to get repriced. For years in commercial real estate, there was a cap rate of 4.5% and 5% being advertised. And, quite frankly, I can get a 1-year treasury right now at 4.7. Why the hell would I buy a real estate deal at 4.5 and take the risk and leasing risk and repair risk and, all that kind of stuff? A tremendous amount of repricing needs to happen in certain spaces on the commercial side, which means there could be distressed buyers who are, again, over leveraged, or who organize their leverage to have a floating rate, which means they had it at 2% and now it's at 6 or 7, and they no longer are cash flowing positive because of those differentials. Wow. And so I think there's a lot of potential income that could come from a good deal on the distressed real estate side. But you're going to have to hire somebody who knows that business. And, a financial advisor is typically not going to know that business. But I do like that space. And that's a place I'm looking personally for my money. But if you want something simple, straightforward, and no risk, I like multi-year guaranteed annuities. And I like the guaranteed return of it. It's not an index where you can go to 0 to 8 or something like that. It's just like 5.5. Here you go. That's the way it was when I got into the business, and it's such a refreshing thing to see again for people with money. So that's what I like.
The third scenario, I'm somebody who's looking to invest in something that's safe. And you touched on it with some fixed annuities. Do you have any other suggestions on safety?
Yeah, 1-year treasury. You can get in between 4.5% and 5%. It's liquid in a year. You don't have to lock your money up forever. Basically, America has to die for you to not get your money back. And I don't care where else you put it. It's probably, the dollar isn't worth anything if America dies anyway. So that money is worthless regardless. So from my perspective, that's the safest place to keep money right now is a treasury.
Okay, I appreciate that. That's really insightful. Let me ask you this question. Will you share with us maybe an idea of a portfolio design or something innovative that you're doing for your clients?
So we do portfolio design at our firm, relatively strange, and you know this because you've seen me do it, but every one of our clients has a core portfolio. The portfolio consists of index funds and specialized managed funds, again, that are institutionally priced. And so what we believe is that everybody should have what we call a core. And the best analogy would be like Earth, right? It's where you get your bread and butter, you eat, and everything happens there. That's the safety of having the diversification of owning, a couple thousand stocks and 20,000 bonds, and you're never going to be poor, but you're going to be following market returns, which is fine. What we then offer are satellites that are different for clients. And what we mean by that is think of something you just add to it, but you might use 10% on a satellite. So if you are a highly focused income investor, our dividend portfolio would be something we would add as a satellite. So you might have 60% of your money in the core portfolio with diversification, but we would add the 20 dividend stocks for the other 40% so that we could get you more income and growth using those types of products. For somebody who wants more risk, we have basically, we call it the comeback kids, and that's going to be your stocks that are down 80, 90% from their all-time highs. These are going to be highly speculative investments that are not for everybody. So you would have to really know me well for me to even bring that to the table, because I don't want to get sued. And you don't want to lose, 80 to 90% of whatever you invested. And I have to make sure that you're the right guy for that, or gal. And so, but again, we would bring that out for somebody who's like, look, if I wanted to peel off $20,000 and try something to do what Tesla did, which is 700% return, well, okay, we can have that conversation. So again, you would have your core, and you might say, we're going to take a percentage of that and do higher risk things. And we could advise on those. And then in between, we have a portfolio of real estate, call it the landlord. We have Hacker, which is, in my opinion, one of the number one businesses, which is cybersecurity in the next 20 years. What we do is we give everybody a highly diversified allocation as their core. And then what we try to do is give them exposure to some other ideas that we think are potentially not the basic, simple asset allocation. One other thing that is if they're a small business owner, what we try to highlight with them is to diversify their money that they don't control. But then we always advocate for them to concentrate their money on things they do control. So diversification works when you don't understand the business, or when you aren't running it. You don't want to take risk and put all your money in something you have no control over, so you diversify. But if somebody's really good at making peanut butter and they can take $100,000 and turn it into 500, an index fund is really dumb. Don't buy the index fund. Make more peanut butter. So it's like you have to think about this, and you have to tailor that to the client, because some of your clients, the worst thing you could do is diversify them, the absolute worst. And so you want to teach them to peel things off from maybe that peanut butter factory or whatever it is they're going to do, because they want to have something that's not attached. Maybe they outlaw peanut butter. I don't know. But you understand my point. Like they're trying to outlaw gas stoves. So if you're really good at gas stoves, maybe you have a diversification conversation with that guy. But if you're the best gas stove maker in the world, I'm not going to tell you to diversify that much, because you're going to be able to turn money into more money way better than the overall diversified market portfolio. So it's not an easy answer if you really want to be good at this from an advisory standpoint, because you have to know when to go concentrated and where and why, versus a traditional asset allocation conversation for just a retiree who isn't going to work, isn't going to be involved in this. He just wants something that won't completely go away if the market, you know what I'm saying? The goals are different.
Well, I can say I've known you through 2 president administration changes, a global pandemic, and a couple other pretty significant worldwide events. And your firm has always had a real-time response to some innovation or portfolio design, or one of these sleeves, as you've called it. I'm always very impressed by that. You're not, when with you and your company, you're not getting like cookie cutter portfolios that you're selling to
most
based on questions.
Right. I mean, most of my peers, the people I grew up with in the business, they're basically asset gatherers. Their job is to go out and be a face. And then what they do is they pick a real money manager who sits in the back and does all the work, and they collect the fee. And that's cool, I guess. But I don't know. It's boring and it doesn't really help people. And you just kind of like you're not even doing the work. So I don't know. I don't get it. So I think you can make a lot more money maybe doing that way, but you aren't really adding much value. But I mean, anybody could go to Vanguard and get just as good a returns or better. They would just be more, they would go through an asset allocation questionnaire. And I'm not saying our returns are always better than Vanguard or not, because that's not the way it works. But when we're right and people hit, like with Tesla or some of those things that we've recommended to our clients, or the cybersecurity stuff, then the returns are outsized. And so, but we use Vanguard, for example, in our core portfolio. Why would we go anywhere else? They're the cheapest, and we can buy an index from anybody. You might as well buy it from the cheapest. So you try to add value where you can, but there's nothing wrong with that core of asset allocation either. It's just that's where most advisors stop. And what we try to do is add more value than that.
I like that. That's what I've always admired about you. All right. Twitter's been blowing up for you. I sent you a screenshot the other day. I'm really impressed by how you've taken to Twitter and how you've really gone out there. And I don't think I addressed this in the beginning of the video, but being a financial advisor, you are under heavy compliance regulation. And sometimes just saying something honestly that could just be in layman's terms for people, you have to accompany it with almost so much other information that it makes it almost useless to the person who's just trying to get answered a simple question. So Twitter's been a great outlet for you, and I've loved watching. I'm going to go to Twitter and I'm gonna pull up some tweets. I just want you to walk me through a couple of these. Okay, this is from January of this year. It says hedge funds or insurance products closer to annuity contracts and investments. What does that mean?
When you're buying an annuity, you're buying the expertise of a company that's hedging. Really, you're pooling your money with a giant general account, is what they call it. And again, this would be the hedge fund. And what they do is they offer guarantees, typically in annuities. Hedge funds don't offer guarantees, but what they're trying to do is tell you, we're going to pick investments on your behalf, but we're going to spend a bunch of money protecting it in case we mess that up. It's way too easy to be wrong in picking investments. And so what hedge funds do, they're actually really good at picking the investments. They're really bad at selling them. And they're really bad at realizing the gains, like most investors. So when you invest in a hedge fund, you're basically accepting a cost structure that's much higher than a pure index or a pure stock holding. And for that, you get something in return. And that's a hedge against market volatility or whatever it is that you agree on with this particular money manager. So to me, they're annuity contracts without being annuities, because you're and instead of investing in bonds or that, you're investing in the actual stocks, but you're then spending 4 to 6 or 8% expense putting protections underneath so that you don't lose money, and that's more like an annuity in my mind, because why else would you do it? I mean, you're trusting another entity, same thing. You have the same risk that entity could go under. It's the same thing. So to me, I know it's not legally, which is again why I'm on Twitter without being, I don't use it to get new clients or anything. I'm just talking there. I'm just saying things that are on my mind. And that to me came up because I don't think hedge funds are for most people. And people dive into those, especially the wealthy, and they spend an inordinate amount of money on all those protections. And I think annuities are way cheaper.
I like that a lot. Okay, you got a bunch of great ones on here. Here's a hot take. We could have affordable housing for everyone if the government did not control it. What does that mean? And I paraphrase that. It's actually if the government does not control housing. What do you mean by that?
Have you ever just driven on a road trip?
Yeah.
Somewhere? Okay. So let's say you drive to Vegas or LA or Texas or whatever. There's pretty much unlimited land. Very small portion of the world is actually populated by humans. A very small portion. You just fly to Chicago and look down. It's empty. the idea of housing continuing to go up ad nauseum 20% in a year, 30% in a year is just criminal for the kids. Like I have 2 kids and I own real estate. I wanted to do that selfishly, but like there's a group of people in the government and in private business that work together to keep housing scarce. And it's the permitting departments with the big builders. So there's a company called Icon Build out of Texas, Austin, Texas, that can 3D print a house in 2 days for, I don't know, in between $10 and $30 a square foot. Why is anybody in Texas paying $250 a foot, $400 a foot? Why is anybody in any state paying that? It doesn't make any sense. Well, the reason it is because of scarcity, and the scarcity is created by this relationship between the businesses and the permitting departments. The states themselves want to monetize their land, and the only way to do that is to make the land more valuable. And so there's a parcel of land right behind my house in Phoenix that sold for $1 million an acre. It's 84 acres. And the whole process, it's just one developer goes to the state, they make an agreement. The state makes a lot of money to cover their budget shortfalls because they don't know how to manage money. And the housing person gets to build this place, but they know they're protected because they know how hard it was and how many people they had to pay off to get this thing done. And then they finally get their master plan community. And the only way that community retains its value and that they can afford to pay that much per land or per acre is by making sure other people can't then go to the acreage right behind it and build even more houses, right? That would be too much supply, which would crash the prices. A long story short, the permitting departments make it impossible for innovations to happen in real estate. If you look at the price of a flat screen TV, when they first came out, they're $20,000. They're $400 now at Walmart.
Yeah.
Okay. Technology makes everything cheap, except things that are corrupted by the government. It doesn't take $60,000 a year to educate somebody at a university. It's in a book. It's like there. It's like right there. It doesn't take $60,000 to do that. Why is it corrupt? Because there's a relationship between the government and education. Medical science has never gone down in cost, even with all the innovations in technology that exist. Why? Because it's not allowed to. There's no pricing transparency. The government doesn't require those for-profit businesses to compete. In fact, they make it impossible for you to get the actual price of anything, which means there's no elasticity, there's no shopping, there's no market forces. And it's the same with real estate. Real estate should be abundant. It should be almost free. It should be a thing where I can have my child born and start investing $100 a month into something. And when they're 18, a house is built for them. That's how much space we have if we really wanted to be serious about correcting those problems. But as long as the relationship between the big business and the government exists, they're going to make it impossible for the innovations that occur to actually come to fruition. Because if they make it easy, if they make it cheaper, their tax base goes away. The government doesn't want property values to plummet because look at what happens to their budgets. They're already way under budget and they spend way more money than they know what to do with. So you could have affordable housing tomorrow. You could have a 4,000 square foot home built for $100,000. Like that could be the price. And the price of the land could be, there's so much of it. There's literally so much of it. Why does it cost that much? Proximity? Okay. Now we have a conversation about it. But we're starting the conversation out with $300 a foot, $400 a foot. All of that is artificial scarcity created by that relationship. Same with, there's only 3 or 4 businesses that are like that always go up in price: medicine, education, housing. Those are the 3 main ones. Everything else gets cheaper. Everything. You gotta think about that. We need food, right? The most important thing ever. It's so cheap. It's like,
yeah.
Until again, they create artificial scarcity by shutting down the economy. Food is way more expensive. Weird.
So well said. It's brilliant. I don't know where we go from here other than this. This one's crucial, okay? This one's an important one. Dear restaurants, Cuban sandwiches should never, ever, ever, ever have mayonnaise on them. It's freaking rude. What's your problem with mayonnaise?
It's so gross. It's like the worst ever. So to me, number one, it's rude to the Cuban community because they know what I know, which is mayonnaise is never should go on one of their sandwiches. But
Is that not, I don't know cooking. Is that a Cuban sandwich is traditionally you don't put mayonnaise on it? Is that this?
No, yeah, a Cuban sandwich is like old school yellow mustard, good pickles, not crappy pickles, a slow, like roasted, really good pork, that kind of thing. And then the bread has to be like a traditional bread. But for some reason, I'll go to a restaurant and I'll be like, "Oh, you have a good Cuban," and then you don't even think that they're going to put mayonnaise on it, but you get it, and it makes me just angry beyond anything. I can't even stand it. Yeah. So to me, I had to say it to the world because it was just there's no way. Like, anyways, if you watch that movie Chef,
yes, that's what you think of Chef. The great movie.
that show, like, if come on, people, like that was a truck. Like those sandwiches look way better than these crappy ones that you guys are throwing out there, and then slathering with mayonnaise because it tastes like crap because you're not even buying good pork and your bread sucks. So that's the real answer there.
That's
they
awesome.
Yeah.
That's why you're blowing up on Twitter, because you have these really insightful comments on the economy and investing and these great pieces of value on there. And then a little funny something you throw in once in a while that always makes it entertaining and fun. I've had so much fun getting a chance to spend time with you. I learned a lot. I'm always grateful when you take time to do something like this for me and our community. I appreciate it. Is there any closing thoughts or anything you want to add?
I can't think of anything else I want to say other than I'm a big fan of yours and I like what you're doing, and I've appreciated the relationship we built over the years. So thanks for having me. And I don't know if anybody's going to be interested in the things I had to say, but hopefully I added value for the people that you're trying to get, to add value to. So thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, always. I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you so much. All right, Big D, go to Twitter at Bougie Shivs. We'll put that in the link in the description down below. If you got something great out of this video, if you enjoyed it, if you liked it, please take just a moment, hit the little like button, give us a thumbs up. It really helps us to reach more people and share content. We try to bring great, valuable guests, people that I've vetted and known for years that are just doing a phenomenal job of serving the community on. So that helps us out tremendously. Please subscribe if you haven't done so yet. Post a video every Saturday morning. Leave a comment if you want Big D to expand on any of these things. I will take these comments, shoot them over to Twitter, get a conversation or dialogue going. We will respond to everybody. And as always, please share this with anybody who you think could benefit from this video. We appreciate you watching. We'll see you in the next one.